Seniors, discover the incredible fruit that transformed 1 million lives by clearing arteries. In the small town of Maplewood, where the streets were lined with picket fences and the air smelled of fresh pie cooling on windowsills, Earl Johnson faced the fight of his life. At 74, the town's beloved grandpa felt the weight of the world on his shoulders, especially as he battled serious heart complications. The thought of losing his independence gripped him with panic. How could he let go of his cherished routines, the ones that made him feel alive? Mia, his spirited granddaughter, stood by him like an unyielding shield, yet the pressure was palpable. She was an ambitious young woman, eager to break free from the cycle of poverty that had haunted their family for generations. The scholarship she dreamed of held the power to change everything, yet with each passing day, Earl's reliance on her intensified, stifling her hopes. One fateful afternoon, while scrolling through unverified health articles, Earl stumbled upon an intriguing mention of a miraculous fruit. "It clears arteries," they claimed. His heart raced with renewed hope. Could this be the answer to his prayers, the solution he needed to restore both his health and the vitality of their household? Days turned into weeks as he researched and spread the word about the fruit. The excitement in town was electric. Local businesses rallied, hosting potlucks and bake sales to raise awareness and funds for health fairs that championed wellness. It was a beautiful sight, neighbors sharing this hope, their resilience shining brighter than any adversity they encountered. However, the brighter the community's hope grew, the heavier Mia felt. She wrestled with the fear that Earl's dependency would drown her ambitions. As they shared a meal one evening, the tension bubbled over. "You need to consider what's best for you, Mia," Earl said, his voice laced with concern. "I can't keep holding you back. You deserve better than this life." "But you're my grandpa. I can't just leave you behind." Mia shot back, hurt and desperate. The fracture in their relationship tugged at both their hearts. Here they were, two fighters separated by dreams and duties. The echoes of their arguments swept through the small house like a winter chill, threatening to overshadow their once warm bond. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Then, the news hit hard. A downturn in the economy strained the town's resources. Just when they believed the fruit could be the miracle they had been hoping for, financial strain became an all-consuming shadow. Earl felt the familiar twinge of panic. Fear washed over him like a wave. Could his health improve and Mia achieve her dreams, or would their struggles continue to suffocate them both? A life-threatening health crisis struck Earl, a reminder of just how fragile their hopes were. A community gathering loomed, one that could change everything, the unveiling of that miraculous fruit. But as excitement filled the air, grim shadows danced around the corner, showcasing the fragility of their lives. In the growing tension, prospects and uncertainties intertwined, leaving the future of the Johnson family hanging by a thread. Their destinies, the town's spirit, and the legacy of hard work and love clashed against the unforgiving current of hardship. Would the miraculous fruit live up to its promise? Would it heal not just Earl, but also their fractured relationship? In the silence that followed a raucous town hall meeting, an answer lingered in the air. Would resilience emerge alongside hope, or would the burdens prove too great for love to bear? The days leading up to the community gathering were a blur of anxiety and determination. Earl's health had taken a sharp turn, leaving only a flicker of vitality in his once vibrant spirit. He found himself counting each heartbeat, each breath, as if they were wandering away like leaves in the autumn wind. Mia watched this slow decline with a heart heavy as lead. Her dreams seemed to slip further from reach, swallowed up in the gulf of despair that lay between them. On the morning of the gathering, the sun broke over Maplewood in a hopeful burst. Earl stood by the window, gazing at the familiar view of the town, neighbors tending their gardens, children laughing on swings. He longed to be part of that world again, to not just watch but participate. He turned to Mia, who was nervously adjusting her dress in the bathroom mirror. "You'll shine today, kiddo," he whispered, trying to ease his own heart, but Mia's smile felt forced, a brittle mask hiding the storm inside. "It's not about me today, Grandpa," she replied, her eyes shimmering with unshed tears. "It's about you. We need this to work. We need change." As they made their way to the town hall, the air buzzed with excitement. Banners fluttered overhead, and townsfolk chirped like birds greeting the dawn. Earl leaned on the strength of Mia, but the weight of the event loomed. Could this fruit really change everything? He felt both terror and hope mingling in his chest, a cocktail that threatened to overwhelm him. The hall was packed, filled with familiar faces, friends and neighbors who had followed the whispers of possibility. Earl's heart danced with memories of their younger days, when he had been the one rallying the town, believing that together they could conquer anything. Would they feel that same unity today? As the clock struck noon, the mayor took the podium, clearing his throat amid the hush that fell over the crowd. "Today, we unveil something remarkable. A fruit that could change our lives." With enthusiasm, he described the fruit's potential. Earl felt the crowd lean in, their faces lighted with curiosity and hope. However, just as the atmosphere swelled to its peak, the mayor paused, his expression shifting into something more somber. "But," he continued, "there are challenges ahead. We're facing economic constraints." His voice faded into the background as Earl's fears wrapped around him like a vice. The same obstacles that had plagued their lives would creep into the hopes of the community. Mia squeezed Earl's hand tightly, as though channeling her resolve through their connection. "Don't let it drag us down, Grandpa," she whispered. "We can fight this together." But as the mayor introduced a local farmer to present the fruit, Earl was hit with a wave of nausea. The fruit was vibrant and alluring, yet doubt clung to its image. Could it truly clear his arteries, his heart? Would it heal the fissures forming between him and Mia? In the midst of cheers, Earl's mind flooded with questions. What if the fruit didn't hold the magic it promised? What if it did, but their struggles remained insurmountable? Would this gathering end in celebration, or despair more profound than any they had faced before? As the crowd erupted into applause, Mia caught Earl's eye, her gaze filled with a mix of unwavering determination and fear. What would happen next? Could they really change their fate? Just then, a figure in the crowd drew attention, a stranger, wrinkled and worn, slowly pushing through to the front with a determined stride. He raised a hand, ready to speak, and Earl's heart raced. What was coming next? In that moment, everything felt poised on the brink of transformation, and the uncertainty loomed larger than ever. The crowd fell silent, every eye drawn to the stranger as he stepped forward. His face, lined and weathered, held a story of its own. Earl could feel the tension in the room. It was as if they were all holding their breaths, waiting for this unexpected visitor to share whatever revelation lay behind those tired eyes. "Folks, I'm John," the man said, his voice a raspy whisper over the collective murmur. "I traveled far to be here today." The sincerity in his tone caught everyone off guard. "I'm just a simple farmer, but what I've seen with my own eyes is worth sharing. This fruit you speak of, it has the power to change lives." Mia leaned closer to Earl, her heart racing. "Do you think he knows something we don't?" she whispered, her eyes wide with curiosity. John continued, his words weaving through the crowd like warm sunlight breaking through the clouds. "A year ago, I was on the brink of giving up. Heart conditions ran in my family, and I thought my time was running out. But then I discovered this fruit, a gift from nature, one that holds more miracles than we can begin to understand. He paused, letting his words sink in. I adopted a new lifestyle, centered around it, and that fruit had saved me. Earl felt a flicker of hope ignite deep within him. Could this be the answer they had been desperately searching for? He exchanged a glance with Mia, whose eyes sparkled with a glimmer of hope. But it's not just about the fruit, John added, his voice growing stronger. It's about community. It's about supporting one another. Together, we can grow this into something much bigger than any of us. We can uplift our families, our neighbors, everyone. The crowd remained riveted. An ember of excitement surged through the hall as he painted a picture of a community bonded by hope, striving together for a better future. Earl could feel the wheels turning in the hearts around him, faces alight with renewed determination, voices murmuring agreement. We need to fight for our health, yes, but we also need to fight for each other, John urged, gesturing emphatically. Change doesn't just happen. We create it. As he spoke, the crowd began to respond, murmurs building into spirited discussions. People around them stood straighter, turned toward one another, sharing ideas and dreams of what could be. The air crackled with possibility, and for a moment, the weight on Earl's chest felt lighter. Mia squeezed his hand again, her grip firm with resolve. See, Grandpa? We can do this. Together, we can make this work, she said, her voice filled with fierce hope. Earl nodded, a tentative smile breaking through despite his lingering doubts. Change was within reach, yet he couldn't shake an unsettling feeling. What if the obstacles ahead were greater than they anticipated? As John finished his speech, folks began rising to their feet, clapping and cheering louder than before. The energy surged, igniting passion in the hearts around them. It was intoxicating and euphoric. Let us form our own council. Someone yelled from the back. Let us gather every Sunday to discuss how we can make this happen. The room erupted into spirited suggestions and rallying cries. Earl felt almost swept away by the tide of excitement. Yet, deep inside, the uncertainty gnawed at him. Could they truly harness this wave of passion and remain united as they faced further challenges? Just as the applause resounded, a distant rumble of thunder overhead echoed through the hall, momentarily quieting the crowd. It was a reminder while hope flickered bright, storms could still loom just beyond the horizon. What now? Earl wondered. How would they bring this dream of unity and health to life? And at what cost? As the tension heightened, an envelope slipped from John's jacket pocket and fell to the floor, fluttering like a fallen leaf. Earl instinctively leaned forward to catch it, but someone else grabbed it first. A ripple of intrigue shot through the crowd as they turned, eyes widening in anticipation. What secrets did it hold? Could it lead them to the answers they desperately sought? The room buzzed with whispers as the envelope changed hands. Faces leaned in, curiosity sparking excitement. Earl watched, heart racing, as a tall woman with flowing silver hair opened the envelope, revealing a single sheet of paper. She held it up, squinting at the faint script. What does it say? Someone shouted from the back, the tension crackling like static. The woman's eyes widened, and she read aloud. It's a list of names and locations. These are people who have used the fruit John mentioned. Her voice trembled slightly. And they're all reporting dramatic health improvements. Gasps swept through the crowd. Earl felt a surge of exhilaration, mixed with disbelief. Could something as simple as a fruit make that kind of difference? Many of these folks live right here in our county. The woman continued, her tone gaining strength. We might not even know them, but they're part of our community. John stepped closer, his expression earnest. Those aren't just names. They're stories. They're hopes. Some of these folks have been through the same struggles we're facing. I wanted you to see that change is possible, if we're willing to lean on each other. Mia's eyes sparkled with determination. We should reach out to them. Find out how they did it. We can gather our resources, share information. This is something we can do together. Earl felt a swell of pride as he looked at his granddaughter, her spirit shining bright. The fire in her voice rekindled the hope he thought was flickering out. Yet the shadows of doubt lingered. Would it truly be as easy as just talking to folks? He knew life wasn't always simple. But what if they refused to help? A voice interrupted, the doubt palpable. What if this is all just hype? The crowd shifted, the excitement blurring into unease. John raised his hands, calming the rising tide of skepticism. I get it. Change is scary. I questioned everything when I started this journey. But I promise you every story I've heard is real, and many of those people were once just like us. A murmur of agreement flowed through, but Earl was still hesitant. John, what about your own story? How did the fruit work for you? Was it just that, or was it something else too? An old man from the back shouted, yeah. What is the catch? Everybody wants to sell something these days. John smiled gently, his eyes shining with sincerity. No catches. Just community. The fruit transformed my health, yes, but it also brought me back to those around me. It helped me see that we're stronger together. As he spoke, Earl considered the truth behind those words. Was it just about a miracle cure? Or was it about forming bonds, embracing unity in the face of hardship? Stepping into the spotlight, Mia chimed in, let us set up a meeting. Our first step should bring everyone together, old and young, to share stories and ideas. Who's with me? A cheer erupted, echoing through the hall, lifting spirits like a tide rising to meet the sun. The doubts haunting Earl still lingered, but slowly he felt the weight lifting. There was hope in unity, and maybe, just maybe, they could find a way forward. As the crowd began to chant, together. Together. John's expression shifted. He leaned in toward Earl, lowering his voice just enough to be heard above the ruckus. Earl, I need to talk to you. There is something else about the fruit, something they really need to know, but it's not just what you think. Earl's heart dropped. What could it be? Would it challenge everything they had just begun to dream about? As John's brow furrowed with genuine concern, Earl couldn't help but wonder, were they truly on the path to something good, or was there a storm brewing just around the bend? Earl's mind raced as he stared into John's sincere eyes. The weight of unspoken words hung between them, thick as smoke in a fire. John, what do you mean? Earl asked, his voice low, pulling John aside, while the crowd continued to celebrate. He could feel the stirring excitement all around, yet doubt clawed at him. They weren't just discussing fruit, they were discussing lives, his own family's lives. John took a deep breath, glancing around as if making sure no one else could hear their conversation. The fruit has potential, yes. But there are risks, and not everyone who tried it had the same experience. Earl's heart sank deeper. You mean some people didn't see benefits? What happened to them? Some people. John hesitated, his brow creasing with thought. It didn't work as expected. Some even suffered side effects. The thing is, they were trying it alone. They didn't have anyone to talk to or share experiences with. Earl felt a knot tighten in his stomach. So, it's not a miracle. It's more complicated than that? Exactly, John said, urgency creeping into his voice. I've seen what community can do. When people share their stories and support each other, that's when true healing happens. Without that, the fruit can't reach its full potential. In that moment, the community spirit surrounding them felt almost fragile to Earl, like a thread barely holding together. The cheers from the crowd seemed distant, muffled by the weight of John's words. Could they really make a difference as a team, or were they simply grasping for hope in desperation? Earl, this is the chance to offer something genuine, John pressed. We must approach it thoughtfully. We need to be honest with each other. But if we only chase the miracle, we could lose sight of the bigger picture. Earl looked back at Mia, her youthful enthusiasm infectious. The hope in her eyes clashed with the doubt in his heart. Will they even listen to us? Can we really convince them to share their stories? They will, if they know we care, John replied. It's a journey worth taking for everyone involved. Trust me. As the chanting swelled again together, Earl felt another wave of doubt crash over him. Too many unanswered questions remained. What if they could rally the community only to see it crumble? What if they couldn't handle the truth about the fruit? With a heavy heart, he made up his mind. All right. Let us do it. But we have to be clear. Let us bring everyone, the good and the bad. We need to be prepared for every outcome. John nodded, relief washing over him. Yes. That's the spirit. As they returned to the fray, surrounded by laughter and energy, Earl couldn't shake the feeling that naked honesty was key, but it also scared him. After all, he was asking people to peel away their masks and lay the truth bare. Mia swept in beside them, beaming. What did we decide? Are we ready? Earl nodded slowly, keeping his doubts deep within. We're ready. Just remember, we can't promise a miracle. The crowd gathered them in, voices blending into a familiar melody. And while hope flickered brightly at their center, Earl felt a heavy undercurrent of uncertainty pull at him. As they began to share the plan for the meeting, no one noticed the cloud drifting closer, beyond the horizon looming, waiting to reveal its storm. Earl's heart raced again, not just with hope, but with a growing sense of dread. What awaited them on the other side of honesty? Earl wondered, was embracing the truth worth risking the fragile joy that had begun to bloom? Tension danced in the air, and something told him that the next gathering would reveal just how strong their community truly was, or if it would break under the weight of reality. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows across the lively gathering, Earl felt the pull of gravity stronger than ever. The excitement surrounding him felt like a carnival, yet inside, he battled a tempest of emotions. People laughed and chatted, their faces flushed with joy. Mia bounced from one group to another, animated, sharing the news about the upcoming meeting as if it were the next big celebration. You won't believe what we learned, she explained to anyone who would listen. The innocence of her enthusiasm was a stark contrast to the weight pressing down on Earl's shoulders. He stood near John, watching the scene unfold. I hope they understand what we're really asking of them, Earl said quietly, concern etched on his face. John nodded, his gaze unwavering. They will. You'll see. Just remember to remind them that honesty can be the first step toward healing. But could they handle the truth? Earl could already imagine the varied reactions, some bursting with eagerness to share, while others would shy away, scared to reveal their vulnerabilities. The potential for healing was a delicate mix of sharing and listening. Yet, what if they couldn't navigate that uncharted territory? As the crowd continued to swell, Earl's mind wandered to his family. Would they support him in this? Would his own children want to be part of a community that dared to dig deep? The thought tightened his throat. He longed for their approval, but he also knew he had to do this for them, for everyone. Suddenly, a loud voice broke through his thoughts, commanding attention. It was Leo, known for his booming laughter and larger-than-life presence. All right, everyone. Gather around. We have something important to discuss. His jovial demeanor always drew people in, but this time, Earl noticed an undercurrent of seriousness in Leo's tone. Mia squeezed Earl's arm in excitement. This is it. They're all coming together. As people settled around Leo, Earl braced himself. The narrative that they had to weave together was no small feat. His pulse quickened as he pondered the magnitude of what they were about to embark on. Fernando, an elder with a weathered face and wise eyes, took the microphone after Leo. There has been talk about the fruit and what it can do, he began, drawing curiosity from the group. But that's just part of the story. We must also talk about our individual experiences. Earl's stomach knotted up again. This was the moment tension met courage, glancing around at faces eager for validation, but unaware of what truths lay beneath their shared smiles. Would they have the strength to speak their minds without masks? The crowd leaned in, and for a fleeting moment, Earl's heart swelled with fierce hope. Could they inspire each other to be open? To share not just successes, but failures too? As Marie, a vibrant woman in her 60s, stepped up to the microphone, Earl's breath hitched. Her voice trembled slightly as she spoke. I tried the fruit last season. It didn't help me the way I'd hoped, but I want to share my experience. The hush around them was palpable, anticipation thick in the air. Earl glanced at John, who looked equally enraptured, the spark of hope in his eyes mirrored in Earl's own. But a sudden gust of wind sent leaves swirling, disrupting the tranquility of the moment. Earl sensed it, a storm brewing just beyond their warm circle of light. As Marie continued, the weight of her words unfurled, stirring something deep in every listener. And in the back of his mind, a nagging voice whispered, what if they weren't ready to face the truth? Tonight, we must embrace our stories together, Earl thought, even as another part of him steeled against the oncoming reality. Would they unearth strength in vulnerability? As Marie finished and the crowd erupted into applause, Earl's heart raced with both excitement and fear. This was only the beginning, and he knew they were standing on the precipice of something big. But as they cheered, a dark cloud loomed on the edge of his consciousness. What would happen when the full weight of their stories came crashing down? The air felt electric, a crack of thunder ready to follow. But could they truly withstand the storm that honesty would bring? Earl felt the applause wash over him, mingling joy with anxiety. Their voices rose, a wave of energy pulsing through the crowd, but his thoughts were tangled. He watched as Marie stepped down, a mixture of relief and uncertainty painting her features. It was clear she had taken a risk, bearing her vulnerability to the collective gaze of their community. Do they understand? Earl murmured to John, who stood beside him, still absorbing the crowd's reaction. Some do, some don't, John replied, his expression thoughtful. But that's the beauty of it. We're all learning together. Earl nodded, but his stomach twisted at the prospect of opening old wounds. What if the stories turned darker than expected? Would they still be able to laugh together by the end of the night? The faint rustling of leaves seemed to echo his unease. As the energy of the gathering shifted, Leo stepped back up to the microphone, his smile radiant. Let us keep this going, folks. Who's next to share? Several voices erupted at once, each one filled with eagerness, yet Earl couldn't shake the growing weight in his chest. He glanced over at Mia. She was animated, her eyes sparkling with pride, as she caught the eye of one of the listeners, a young man who seemed hesitant. She waved him over, encouragingly. Come on, the more stories, the better, she called, her voice a warmth that cut through the cool breeze. The young man glanced around, searching for support. Earl felt an urge to jump in, to reassure him, but he also understood that this moment was his to embrace or evade. Hey, everyone! Mia's voice rang out again, pulling attention. I'll go! Earl's heart sank and soared simultaneously. He wanted to see his daughter shine, but he also feared the revelations that might follow. She walked up confidently, gathering her thoughts as the crowd quieted. I've seen you all share, and it reminds me of how we can connect. I want to share something personal. Earl's breath hitched. Every word she spoke felt like a step into an unknown abyss, where the weight of truth could either liberate or constrain. My friend struggled with his health, she continued, her voice steady. He thought the freak could change that, but her eyes glistened, catching the light in a way that made her vulnerability shine like a beacon. It didn't he? And at one point, I was scared to lose him because we didn't talk about what was really happening. The silence was profound. Earl felt the collective breath hold, like a community poised on the edge of honesty. "This taught me something deep," Mia went on, courage swelling in her tone. "It's okay to admit when things aren't perfect. It's okay to ask for help. The fruit can work wonders, but so can sharing our fears." Earl could see her heart laid bare, echoing the very sentiments he wrestled with. He felt the tension in the air begin to crack under the weight of her confession. John leaned in, a proud smile on his face. "She is going to change things," he whispered. Mia's words began to resonate, shifting the atmosphere. People started nodding. Some were wiping tears away. Others whispered encouragement. Then, an unexpected voice called out. It was Fernando again, his rich tone weaving back into the conversation. "And sometimes we shield ourselves so well, we forget we're all human," he said, glancing around. "Let us not just listen, but also learn from these experiences. Connection moves us forward." Earl's heart pounded. They were teetering on the brink of something vital, yet the room felt electric. He could sense the storm building again, both a fear of the unknown and the thrill of potential transformation. What would happen when the walls came crashing down? Would truth break their unity or forge something new? As a murmur arose from the crowd, anticipating more stories, Earl's eyes searched the faces surrounding him, each one echoing the same question. Were they truly ready for the flood of honesty that would now come? Before the murmurs could swell into full-blown conversation, a woman stepped forward from the back of the crowd. Earl recognized her as Linda, a teacher at the local high school. Her hands trembled slightly as she approached the microphone. The pause felt heavy, like the weight of unspoken words pressing down on everyone. Hi everyone," she began, her voice wavering but filled with determination. "I'm glad to see so many faces here tonight. I think it's important to share a piece of my story." Earl felt a flicker of hope mixed with concern. He knew Linda had faced her own battles. The crowd shifted, sensing the seriousness in her tone. "Last year," she continued, swallowing hard, "I lost my father. It was during the summer, and we thought he was just getting older. But it turned out there were years of unspoken health issues, just like Mia described. He didn't want to burden us, my mother and me, so he never told us how severe things were." Her words hung in the air, a painful reminder of the darkness that sometimes lurks beneath the surface, disguised by a smile. "I remember the day we finally had to rush him to the hospital." There was a moment, she paused, the memory flooding her with emotion. "A moment I'll never forget. I asked him why he didn't let us in on his struggles. And he looked at me and said, 'I thought you'd be better off without knowing.'" Earl's heart ached for her. The raw horror of that moment resonated with his own fears about vulnerability, the fear that sharing might drive a wedge between loved ones instead of bringing them closer. "I couldn't do anything to help him, because he hid his pain," Linda pressed on, her voice steady with resolve. "This experience taught me how crucial it is to have those tough conversations. As a community, we need to break these patterns. Because what is life, if we can't be real with each other?" There was a ripple of agreement from the crowd. Nods of understanding fluttered like leaves on trees before a storm. Earl noticed a few faces tighten with recognition, grappling with their own stories of loss and unvoiced fears. Earl felt Mia's hand grip as tightly her support, a reminder of their shared journey. He could sense the collective release around him. People were leaning forward, eager to connect, bursting with a desire to speak about their own struggles. It felt electric, an awakening of long-buried truths. Just as the atmosphere teetered on the brink of catharsis, a new voice broke through the tension. It was Tom, an older gentleman whose laugh usually lifted the room. "I have something to share too," he called enthusiastically, though there was an edge to his cheerfulness that suggested a deeper story waited behind his smile. Earl's gut twisted again. It was as if Tom's joviality was a mask concealing something he was on the verge of letting fall away. "Tom, buddy, go ahead," Leo encouraged, the note in his voice a blend of support and excitement. The room drew closer, some leaning in as if anticipating something monumental. Earl's breath quickened. He felt a yearning for connection, yet a fear of the truth that awaited them. Tom stepped up, the weight of his demeanor at odds with his usual lightheartedness. "Life isn't always easy, let me tell you." As Tom began to share, Earl looked around. He saw faces anxious yet hopeful, hearts opening under the weight of shared experience. And he wondered, could this be the night they all began to heal? Would this be their turning point? The crowd held its breath, waiting for the truth to spill over, for connections to deepen, transforming shared vulnerability into something powerful. Would they be ready for what comes next? Tom cleared his throat. His usual smile faltered a bit. The room sensed the shift, the air growing thicker, as he tried to find his words. Earl could see beads of sweat forming on Tom's forehead, a stark contrast to the jovial persona everyone was used to. "Like I said," Tom started again, "life can really throw you curveballs. Just a few months ago, I lost my wife, Alice. She battled cancer for 2 years, and I thought we'd overcome it. For the longest time, I believed she would bounce back. But it was harder than we ever expected." Silence fell like a heavy blanket. Earl glanced around, noting the faces of the crowd, some eyes glistening with tears, others wide with empathy. Tom's voice grew raspier as he continued, each word a fierce reminder of his loss. "She was the light of my life. You know, she always took the time to listen to others. She was a caretaker of the family, of the community. So when she got sick, I thought I could take care of her too. But I was naive. I thought I could handle it all alone." Earl felt his chest tighten, a familiar pang of guilt. It was easy to take on that weight alone, but could they all be doing just that? Tom's story was nudging at something deep within. "I thought staying strong meant holding it all in," Tom confessed, clearing his throat once more. "But I neglected to let anyone in, to share her pain, to share my fear. If I had just let my friends and family help, if I'd let them carry some of that burden, I don't think I would feel so lost now." He paused, the weight of his words settled over the room, heavy and real. Earl wanted to reach out, to tell Tom he wasn't alone. He wanted the others around him to know it too. "You know, sometimes I hear laughter in my dreams," Tom added, a bittersweet smile flickering across his face. "It's Alice laughing. I wake up to the silence of an empty home, and it hits me again. I miss her. I miss sharing the small things with her. I realized holding everything in just made the ache sharper." Tears streamed down some faces in the crowd. Earl's heart broke a little more for Tom. He wished they could all share in their pain instead of carrying it. Like Linda said, they had to be real with each other. Tom raised his hand, wiping his eyes. "I guess what I'm trying to say is I wish I had let people help me. I wish I had allowed others to shoulder the burden a bit. If you're facing something hard, don't try to go it alone. Talk to someone." A wave of encouragement rippled through the gathering. Soft murmurs of agreement filled the room. Earl felt a surge of hope as the faces around him transformed. Vulnerability in the air was palpable. "Together, we can lighten each other's load," Tom concluded, the crowd absorbing his strength. "Each story is a bridge, tying us closer." Just as a sense of unity began to blossom, a sharp, unexpected sound echoed through the community hall, one that sent each of them reeling in shock. A deep thud, followed by silence as everyone turned to the back of the room, where a shadowy figure lurked. The atmosphere shifted again, tension thickening in the air, as they all breathed in uncertainty. Who was that? What did this mean for the connections they were beginning to forge? Earl could feel the flutter of anxiety creep back in. What had they just unveiled? And what else awaited them on this path? The shadowy figure stepped into the dim light, revealing a familiar face. It was Clara, the town nurse. The relief mixed with confusion rippled through the crowd. "Sorry to interrupt, everyone, I just got a call. They need us at the clinic." "There's a lot happening right now," she said, her voice sounding strained yet hopeful. Earl's heart raced. "What is going on?" he called out, standing up from his seat, the weight of uncertainty hovering over him like a thick fog. Clara took a deep breath, her expression earnest. "There's a group of local residents who have come together to discuss the very fruit we've been talking about. Several of them have been experimenting with it, and they want to share their results with the community. They believe it could lead to a new health initiative, one that could benefit us all." The room buzzed with newfound energy, muffled whispers breaking out as people murmured among themselves. It felt as if a furnace of hope was igniting. Earl's heart began to swell. Could this really be the moment they needed to gain momentum? Mia turned to her grandpa, her eyes wide with excitement. "This is it, Grandpa. We can unite our community." With a thumping heart, Earl realized that this was their chance not just to share the miraculous fruit, but to build something far more significant. "Clara, can you tell us what we should do?" Earl pressed, urgency lacing his words. The room was filled with voices clamoring for clarity, but Clara held up her hands for silence, her calm demeanor restoring order. "We need to organize everyone together. There's power in numbers, and the more we share experiences, recipes, hopes, the stronger our community will be." Tom, still brimming with emotion from his earlier confession, spoke up again. "Let us collect stories, the successes and the struggles, and celebrate them. We can hold a health fair, just like we used to do. A place for everyone to learn and share." Among the growing excitement, Earl could hardly believe how the gathering transformed. The spark of vulnerability they had ignited earlier began to blossom into a mighty flame of connection, illuminating faces with renewed determination. Mia jumped up. "I'll help organize. Just think, if we gather everyone who has used the fruit and share those stories, we could create a handbook or something guides on how to grow, prepare, and enjoy it." Earl could feel the shift within him, a warmth spreading through him as he recognized the possibilities. His once nagging doubts about their community meeting began to fade, replaced by hope and an exhilarating sense of purpose. "Together, we'll develop a plan," he said, his voice soaring with newfound conviction. "Together, we'll create something meaningful." A cheer erupted from the crowd, the energy multiplying tenfold. They were no longer alone. They were a collective force of resilience, ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As plans were drawn up and individuals stepped forward to take charge of different functions of the initiative, Earl felt a surge of warmth lift from his chest. He glanced at Mia. Her joy radiated to him, and he saw the future widen before them. Honesty had forged a path to unity they had all desired, allowing them to share both hope and healing. The crowd began to gather in teams, discussing their dreams and visions with fervor, while Earl took a moment to breathe. The tension had lifted like storm clouds, giving way to a clear sky. In that moment, as Clara stood by him, she offered a hopeful smile. "You see? When a community comes together and shares, miracles don't just happen, they sustain one another." Earl nodded slowly, his heart full of gratitude. Maybe this was their miracle, an awakening that would not just heal him, but unite the community, allowing them to lean on each other instead of bearing their struggles alone. As they organized and planned, laughter and joy filled the room. Earl watched as his granddaughter moved through the crowd, connecting with people, her spirit electric with possibility. And just like that, they began to redefine what it meant to be a family. A community strengthening their hearts, uniting them under a common goal. Earl realized in that moment that they weren't simply fighting against hardship. They were embraced by the promise of togetherness, sharing in the trials and triumphs that life brought. With each story shared, and each bond formed, Their world grew brighter, filled with warmth and love, an unshakable choice made to honor their past and reach for an uncertain yet glorious future. As twilight descended on Maplewood, they stood united, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Earl smiled, breathless with faith and warmth. They were bound by something much deeper now, an echo of hope that would resonate long after the last cheer faded. This was the moment they had all been waiting for, and they were ready to seize it together. And as they stepped toward a new dawn rising on their town, Earl felt something he thought he had lost, the pure joy of believing in change, being a part of something larger than himself, drenched in the warmth of community love. Now it's your turn. Subscribe immediately to our channel to not miss the next exclusive stories that will inspire you. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Seriously, it makes a difference. Comment your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you. And please, share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second. True fans understand the importance of making a community like ours grow, so do your part.